All right, hello and welcome back. So last time we dove into the fire of the anxious attachment style, right? The panic, the storm. Well, today we're flipping the script completely. We're talking about ice. We're talking about silence, and we're talking about space. We are going to journey into the kingdom of the avoidance style. So let's step into the cold and see what's really going on in there. And right away, you can just feel the difference, can't you? The anxious style, it burns hot. It's all about pursuit and panic. But the avoidance style, it freezes. It just retreats into this silent, self-contained world. It's a total strategy of deactivation, not activation. But here's the thing, and this is super important. I really want you to try and discard any labels you might have, like cold or heartless. Because what's hiding behind all that ice, it is not what you think. And this right here is what flips the entire script. It's the key to understanding everything. That avoidant aura, it's not a sign that someone feels nothing. No way. It's actually a fortress, and it was built by someone who once felt way too much. So much that they had to retreat into the safety of their own mind just to survive it all. Okay, so let's actually step inside this kingdom of ice and silence. On the surface, it can look incredibly self-sufficient, almost perfect, right? But underneath that really polished exterior, oh, it is a very, very different climate. And this is the first thing you'll notice. I mean, everything looks just pristine from the outside. The perfect career, the perfect home, these really smart intellectual conversations. But you have to understand, it's an artificial climate. It's like a life that's been sealed off from all the messiness of real feelings. And this emotional sarcophagus, it's not built out of contempt for other people, not at all. It's built out of a deep-seated terror that true intimacy will literally shatter the very foundations of their world. So to really get how this world is maintained, we've got to look at its architecture. It really is a fortress, and it's built with three very specific, very strong defensive walls. So let's break them down one by one. All right, so first up, you've got that glass dome we just talked about, right? The one that keeps all the emotions hermetically sealed. Then there's this profound need for what we can call sacred autonomy. And finally, number three is a complete emotional shutdown when things get stressful. Okay, this next one is so crucial to understand. For someone with an avoidant style, personal space isn't just a preference, it's a condition for survival. I mean, think about it. A simple request like "let's talk" can feel like not an invitation to connect, but a full-on invasion, a threat of being totally consumed. So when they say "I'm fine on my own," it is not arrogance, it's relief. It's like the calm of a giant glacier after the threat of a terrifying avalanche has finally passed. And this brings us to what is often the most painful behavior for their partners. When they're faced with strong emotions from someone else, we're talking tears, panic, a real cry for help, a deep internal alarm just goes off. It's a trauma response, and it's screaming, "Do not get involved. It's a trap. This is a bottomless pit." So what do? Well, they might help mechanically, bring you a pill, find an article online for you. But emotionally, they're just paralyzed. And this illustrates the point so perfectly. It's not a monster inside of them. It's a terrified child who's once left completely alone in their own nightmare. So the big question is, where does all this ice come from? How is this armor even forged in the first place? Well, to understand the fortress, we have to go back to the original blueprint, and that is almost always drawn in childhood. I mean, just think about it for a second. A child is biologically wired to seek connection. It's instinct. So what on earth has to happen for that fundamental instinct to get completely reversed? What could possibly teach a child that needing someone else is actually dangerous? Well, here's the recipe. It's heartbreaking, really. You take a child whose calls for comfort are consistently ignored or even rejected. Then you tell that child to stop crying and just handle it themselves. And you pair them with a caregiver who, yeah, they're physically present, but emotionally, they're a million miles away, just lost in their own world. The child's brilliant, adaptive little mind does the only thing it can do. It makes the only logical conclusion possible. And this is the survival formula it comes up with. Relying on other people leads to pain. It leads to humiliation. So the only way to ever be truly safe is to depend only on yourself. Feelings just make you vulnerable, so they're a luxury you absolutely cannot afford. And intimacy, well, intimacy just means losing yourself completely. And just like that, this becomes their core operating system for the rest of their life. So what happens next? What happens when this child, armed with a survival formula, grows up and tries to navigate adult relationships? Well, as you can probably guess, it creates a whole series of painful, self-defeating paradoxes. And yeah, we see that childhood survival formula play out in some really predictable adult patterns. For one, they tend to fall for an ideal of a person, not a real person. Why? Because an ideal doesn't have messy, unpredictable needs. The relationships often feel like they have an expiration date stamped on them, right? And that date is usually the exact moment their partner starts asking for real, true intimacy. And when it comes to conflict, they might become masters of indirect stuff, like sarcasm or just withdrawing completely. Because a direct confrontation, that requires emotional vulnerability, which is, of course, their greatest fear. So here's the central paradox, the real heart of the matter. Their detachment, it isn't a statement of indifference. It's a frozen cry for connection. Deep down, they want love just as much as anyone else, but their primary strategy for getting it is to prove over and over that they don't need it. It's such a tragic, self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? I can only rely on myself, they think. And that leads to loneliness, which, what do you know, proves their original belief was correct all along. Okay, so what on earth can be done about this? Whether you're seeing this pattern in yourself or maybe in someone you love, I want you to know the situation is not hopeless, but the path forward is probably not what you think. It's actually very counterintuitive. And this is the single most important rule. Listen closely. Do not try to break the ice. Any attempt to force connection, I'm talking demands, accusations, ultimatums, is only going to make the walls of that fortress thicker and higher. You simply cannot storm a fortress that was built specifically to withstand a siege. And you can see the difference so clearly here. The wrong approach, that triggers all the alarms. We need to talk. Accusations, demands. The right approach is about slowly, gently raising the temperature. So instead of that scary "we need to talk," try a simple, no strings attached gesture. Something like, "Hey, I made you some coffee." It's all about offering connection in these small, totally non-threatening doses. So the path to a thaw really involves these key steps. Now, if you're the partner, your job is to learn to read their distance not as "I don't love you," but as "I'm scared." And if you're the one with the avoidance style, your journey starts with learning to recognize the fear that's hiding behind your own coldness. A great first step is to find a really safe outlet, like a journal, to start exploring vulnerability on your own terms, way before you have to do it with another person. And I really want to leave you with this one last image. The avoidance style, it isn't about the absence of a heart. Not at all. It's about a heart that's been placed in a kind of cryo chamber. And it was frozen for a very, very good reason. Because at one point in time, its beating was just too painful to endure. So the goal, remember, is never to shatter the chamber. It's to slowly, patiently raise the temperature with trust and with safety. So, always remember this. The strongest, most formidable armor is always built around the most vulnerable, most tender place. The real work isn't about breaking down the wall. It's about respectfully and patiently looking for the door. Thank you for listening to The Silence with me today.